Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Action Window. It's been a hot minute since I released anything, but things are happening. Updates are coming. We've had two pretty decent patches in the span of 15 days, and yesterday we got this developer blog post, which is pretty much talking about item acquisition and the big one, the eagerly anticipated and long awaited crafting system. So in this video, I'm just going to break down this post. Then after that, I will be discussing what I think the itemization loop will look like after the patch. So that's everything. That's how crafting is going to work and how they've designed the sort of the loot circle, if you will, in the game. Because I think all the answers are contained within this post. Let's just jump straight into it. Oh yeah, of course, if you enjoy me, if you enjoy my content, please do like and subscribe. It really does help. Right, without further ado, let's have a look at this blog post. So they start off here by basically, well, not really apologizing. They just say why the crafting system has been held back. The reason that they give is that the system they were going to release to us in December was tied too heavily to the current way item acquisition in the game happens. Players obviously don't like that. We started getting a lot of feedback saying no one likes this item acquisition system, therefore it's prudent for us to hold back this crafting system because it's tied to that. Make of that what you will, but that's the reason why it got delayed. It was an intentional thing based on the poor feedback they received on item acquisition. Then the post goes into what changes to the current item acquisition systems we're going to see in this next patch. So starting off with the Armory Exchange. The Armory Exchange is staying. However, it's going to be improved pretty significantly. The first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a second tab where you will be able to buy gray versions, so like base rarity versions of any weapon you have unlocked through the leveling process. They then say that the rating of the item that you will get when you buy one of these profane or grey level items is tied to your character's current level. So I have to assume there's going to be some wiggle room here. I don't think it's just going to be like, you have a level 30 character, you buy a profane item from the Armory Exchange, it's a 380 rating every single time. I don't think that's going to be the case. Maybe it will be, but I think there'll be some amount of variance in the ratings there, you know, with a high end and a low end in terms of what you can get when you buy a grey item. Maybe you'll get something at like 340 rating, maybe you'll luck out and get a 380. All speculation, but I feel like that's how it's going to work. They also say they will be improving the selection of items in the hourly catalog in both base item rating range and their potential. And what I think they mean by potential is the rarity of the perks and blessings. So both of these are great. Good changes. We want more agency. We want, you know, the stuff that comes up in the armory to be more enticing, more, you know, exciting, essentially. And if we can't have that, then having the ability to get a template weapon and build it up ourselves through crafting is what we asked for, and we're getting it, so that's great. Right, we'll then go on to the Emperor's Gift, because that's now been changed. Emperor's Gift is now going to drop every single mission. And the rarity and the rating is going to be based on a few factors. It's going to be based on difficulty. Great change. Really important change, I think, because it gives people a reason to push towards doing the higher difficulties. It's also going to be based on conditions for the mission. So that's things like your high intensity, your heckin' doggo time, your lights out. Whether or not there's a secondary objective is going to factor in as well. So if you have to collect either scriptures or grimoires, then that's going to contribute to the potential of the item you get from the Emperor's Gift. So there's now a reason to do high difficulty, go for secondary objectives, and take on some of the more challenging conditions as well. There's now a reason. You will be rewarded for doing this, presumably by having points go into a pool that ups what you can get from your Emperor's Gift. Another good change. Really like that. You want to push players towards striving to get the best stuff. They then go on to talk about Sire Melk. They've talked about making the contract a little less grindy. They've kind of lumped scriptures and grimoires into one contract now. They're adding contracts for just picking up plasteel and diamantine, which is, sort of do anyway. They're also making Melk's daily catalog better. So I assume that means we're going to see items with higher ratings, better blessings and perks, more of them to that effect. And they're also going to be buffing his randomly generated item page, where you can spend a few of your Melk tokens, or whatever they're called, and get a random item. Like, currently, the way that's been implemented is it's terrible. You should never do it. You'll never get a good item. But that's going to be improved and buffed in this next patch, right? Of course, the big one is crafting is coming in as well. So if you just want to leave this video now, I'll give you the rundown of what crafting is going to include. It's going to be Consecrate, already in the game, you know what that does. Refine perk, already in the game, you know what that does. Earn Blessing and Re-Bless. You remember, if you've seen the preview, there was a fifth thing as well called Combine Fuse Blessing, where you combine two blessings to make a higher rarity one. That was the kind of gist of it. That's gone now, and they've also cited that mechanic was the reason they kind of held crafting back, because that mechanic was tied too heavily to the shop, which we'll get into in just a bit. But yeah, that's gone. Basically, the way it works now is when you earn a blessing, you hand over a weapon, you lose it, you take the blessing off that weapon, it goes into a bank for that weapon type. So let's say tactical axes, yeah? Let's say I get a tactical axe of a level 3 brutal momentum blessing. I can hand that in, I can earn that blessing permanently. They use the word permanently here, which is very important. I can then apply that exact blessing, that level 3 brutal momentum, to any tactical axe I then get forever, right? I permanently have earned that blessing. And then Re-Bless, which is taking a blessing you have earned essentially from your blessing bank and putting it onto an applicable weapon. It's important to note as well that re-blessing a weapon will lock that blessing to it. So it's exactly the same as perks. You get two, but if you start interacting with one, the other becomes locked and cannot be interacted with. So yeah, that's basically what they advertise in the crafting system in this post. If that's all you wanted from this video, feel free to turn it off now, because the rest is going to be speculation into how the item system is going to work post patch, and also why the fuse and combine blessing is gone. All right, so if you're still here, let's talk theories. So there's two bits of the post that I found pretty interesting. I'm going to bring them up on the screen now as I mention them. The first is this part right here. It says, throughout the launch period of Darktide, we began to receive feedback from players playing the game in its entirety. One of the loudest feedback points we saw was exposing issues in our acquisition methods for items. We identified that these issues for item acquisition would be further compounded by the blessing crafting features we had implemented. It would result in a frustrating experience for players. We decided to hold back the additional crafting functionality while we revisited our item acquisition systems to alleviate the would-be strain on the crafting system. With that choice in place, we set ourselves upon the task of reworking some of our sources for item acquisition. That's a lot of jargon, because basically this whole paragraph might as well have just said, we held back the crafting system because of the fuse/combine blessing part of it, which we've decided not to go ahead with. My first question when I read that was why? Why will they not, do that? Because that aspect of the crafting system seemed like a good idea, because now we don't have a way with the crafting system to upgrade the blessing rarity levels, right? We only have ways to permanently earn a blessing, and then use it on any weapon we want. But it kind of makes sense the more I think about it. And the next key to this, the next part of this puzzle, is in this paragraph right here, also coming up on your screens right now. The first major change from the previous crafting implementation we discussed is that we will not be implementing the fuse combined blessing functionality. Instead, earning a blessing will permanently unlock the ability to re-bless with that blessing at any time. So as I said earlier, once you've handed over a weapon to Hadron and you've earned that blessing, that you've just got that blessing forever, right? Any weapon that uses that blessing, for the weapon that you've taken it off, can then have it. We made this decision as it complements where we will take blessings in the future, and it greatly alleviates the number of items that one would need to acquire. Not only the ability to re-bless, but also what you can re-bless with. As stated in the previous section about equipment, we expect players to switch and try new weapons, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Earning the ability to permanently re-bless allows for a far more enjoyable and less time-consuming experience. That, I think, gives us a little insight into what's going on with the whole fuse/combined blessing thing. It seemed like that mechanic was pretty dependent on you acquiring loads of sort of lower tier rarity items with the blessing you wanted, like hoarding those blessings and then combining them into like one max rarity blessing to then put on a weapon, I assume once, right? And then once that weapon is on, it's used, and then you have to repeat the process again. So you can sort of see what they're saying here. They're saying we didn't want players to endlessly have to sort of hoard crappy items to then to then take the blessings off them, to then combine them to upgrade them, to then use them once. We've scrapped that. We're now going with just taking the blessing off a weapon and having it permanently to apply to whatever you want. And you're thinking, okay, well, that's all well and good, but why did they not just put that ability to permanently have the max upgrading in the bank in the first place? And I think the answer to that question is games like this, for longevity, do require the player to have some sort of goal in mind, right? Where you're endlessly chasing something. Now the focus is going to be about seeking the items with the powerful blessings, and pursuing them. And I think that's where these changes to the armory exchange and Melk come in, right? So currently, Melk doesn't really matter. The issue I find with Melk a lot of the time is you'll look at his items and he will have some weapons at a really low rating, like a 330 or whatever, but they'll have amazing high-level blessings on. And you just think, well, great, these blessings are great and everything, but like I'm never going to use this item because its rating is so poor. And now I think what they're planning on doing with Melk is using him as a vendor that essentially kind of sells blessings for you to earn, right? So, if you want your high level blessing, you are going to have to play into Melk. You're going to have to do your weeklies, you're going to have to get your coins, and you're going to have to track down those blessings for the items you want, which isn't going to be as grindy because they're going to add more items and they're going to improve the variety or whatever. And that's going to be, Melk is going to be your main source for those blessings. The other source will be, of course, the Emperor's Gift. And you can see that as being an avenue where you can get these level 3, level 4 blessings to permanently earn, to put on stuff. Yeah, there has to be in an itemization system a reason to keep looking for items. And if everything was just totally open and totally unlocked, you can see it would get to a point quite quickly where you could make a perfect version of every weapon pretty quickly if they combined, like, all these, like, yeah, you can change any perk you want. Once you've permanently earned a blessing, it's in your blessing bank. You can combine it with other blessings to upgrade it, blah, blah. If they had all these things, you could breeze through this sort of quest for the perfect weapon quite quickly, I think. So the reason they've added in these kind of restrictions, if you want to look at it like that, is to just sort of increase the longevity of the loot chasing game. So I think the item loop is going to look a bit like this. You're going to go out on your missions. You are going to now really want all the things you can get from a mission. You're going to want your dockets, your crafting materials, looking to do stuff for the weekly challenges so you can get your melt coins. You'll be encouraged to do the harder missions, the ones with modifiers, ones with side quests like the scriptures and grimoires, to get the Emperor's gift, because that's going to, theoretically give you access to higher tier blessings. Then you're going to spend your dockets at the shop, either generating a grey with a random, you have to assume a random base rating. You'll use the materials to upgrade your greys to the weapon of your dreams. And you'll use your mel coins you'll earn mel coins from your weekly tasks to get the blessings off the milk weapons to then craft with, refine your weapons, perks, blessings, the rest of it. You can see how the loop will kind of go, right? All of these things feeding into each other and the crafting system. And it's not bad. It's definitely not a bad system. It's much more enjoyable than what we have now, and it uses what's already in the game. The concerns that I have are with the locking of the perks and the blessing, because I think basically in order to get this perfect weapon, there's a lot of variance involved, especially if upgrading from grey, right? Because currently when you upgrade a weapon from grey, it's totally random what perk and what blessing you get. If you upgrade from grey to green and then green to blue, you get a random perk of a random rarity and a random blessing of a random rarity level. And if you get unlucky with that, then there's absolutely no point bothering with that weapon, right? Let's say you get a perk that's just crap, so you're going to have to reroll that one. It doesn't matter what the next perk you put on the weapon is. It becomes resource inefficient to do that after an extent, right? So what I'm curious to see is if this locking system creates this kind of crafting loop where it's very, very unlikely you'll get what you want. You might be able to influence one half of the weapon. You can influence one perk and one blessing. Is that still too little agency when it comes to crafting this dream weapon? Because that's really what the fun of this system is going to be based in. And as we can no longer influence the rarity of blessings, because the fuse/combine blessing thing is not in the game, we're now dependent on finding those, either from Melk, from the Emperor's Gift, from the shop, wherever they are. That's my only concern going forward, is really, if like the amount of time we have to invest in this system is going to be like convoluted a bit by this locking mechanic they're going with. But time will tell. Time will tell. Anyways, that's going to be it for this old ramble for now. If you liked that style of video, please do let me know down in the comments below, and I'll do some more of them because they're relatively easy for me to do. Also let me know what you think about this developer blog post. Is it what you were hoping for from the crafting system? Does it sound a bit like jargon trying to cover up the lack of a plan? I don't know. Where do you sit? Let me know. I'm interested in having a discussion on these things. I've got some more videos coming out this weekend as well. I've got a guide for Headhunter auto guns that should be dropping on Sunday. Yes, and I'll be a bit more active from now on going forward. So yeah, thank you very much for sticking with me this time, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.